Hello, Senior Stoner fans. It's the real Senior Stoner back at you for your Puffco Proxy Rosin dab of the day. Thanks for being here, everybody. As always, if you enjoy the video, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, send a like, and I reply to all the comments. Let's get started with today's topic. It's very important that we take the perspective of others into consideration. Critically important. Think about it. It'd be really hard to find solutions to problems if you had to satisfy everyone. You just can't do it. In order to resolve conflict constructively so that all parties are satisfied with an outcome, a person must be able to hold all the opposing ideas, positions, perspectives in mind at the same time and still function effectively. Problem solving and conflict resolution largely depends on a person's ability to take the opponent's perspectives and understand how the conflict appears to be the other person and how the person is reacting emotionally and attitudinally. If a person can't take the perspective of an opponent, then his or her understanding of the issue is very limited and incomplete. Think about it. When people disagree, there needs to be a realistic assessment of common and opposed interests and conclusions. It's often that each party sacrifices some of the opposed interests so that the common benefit, common advantages, can be built and met. But to obtain a realistic assessment of what's common and what's an opposed thing, it's necessary to see the situation from the perspective of the other parties. Social perspective taking is the ability to understand how a situation appears to another person and how that person's reacting. The opposite of perspective taking is egocentrism, or being unaware of other people, even that they exist. It's critically important to be accurate. The accuracy increases when you spend more time doing it. Often people can view an issue and a situation both from their own perspective and from the other person's perspectives. And therefore they find mutually beneficial solutions. Perspective taking also communicates that one really understands their thoughts, feelings, and needs. Usually easier to jointly solve a problem, think about it, when other people feel understood and respected. It's very basic. But there are 5 important aspects of perspective taking. You've got to realize that everyone involved has a unique perspective, like snowflakes. No two people see a situation or an issue exactly the same way. Then a person's perspective selects and organizes what the person attends to and experiences, because all experiences are understood within the perspective in which they're viewed. Think about it. People tend to see only what their perspective allows them to see it. Like a referee even. Change a person's perspective and you change what that person sees and the way they interpret the event in his and her life. Perspectives actually create bias. Out of a mass of detailed information, people tend to pick out and focus on the facts that confirm their prior perceptions and really just pat themselves on the back, and they disregard and misinterpret a lot of things that would call their own perceptions into question. People have different perspectives at different times also. As job roles, experiences, assumptions, psychological, physiological states, and values change, perspectives change. When we're hungry, we notice all the food in the room. When you're not hungry, the food does not attract much attention. The same message can mean 2 entirely different things from 2 different perspectives. A person's perspective largely determines how that message is going to be interpreted. The same message can be interpreted as a friendly teasing or as a hostile act, depending on the perspective of the receiver. It's so important because misunderstandings occur because we assume that everyone sees things from the same perspective as we do, and they don't. To solve problems and resolve conflicts constructively, participants need to understand each other's perspectives. Doing that helps people get a clear understanding of all the sides and the issues, and gives the ability to think creatively and come up with solutions that maximize joint outcomes for both and fulfill the interests of everyone involved. But you know what it requires? It requires both people to see the issue from both their perspective and the other person's perspective. They need to keep both perspectives in mind at the same time when looking for solutions. It's difficult, given that different people have different perspectives. Each person may have a different perspective at a different time. The same message may be interpreted differently depending on the receiver's perspective. How misunderstandings happen because we assume that everyone has the same perspective that we do. Guess what? Accurate understanding of these perspectives is critical. Perspective taking, by influencing how messages are phrased and received, improves communication and reduces the misunderstandings and distortions. So accuracy of our perspective is important. Perspective taking is essential for realistic assessment of common and opposed interests. You got to find out what's going on in order to know how your perspective is towards it. A broad view of an issue gives you the ability to look at things possibly from another person's perspective. If you want to influence another person, you'll need to understand the power of his or her point of view. And you'll need to feel the emotional force with which he or she believes it. Once you do that, once you can understand that and evaluate it, really buy into it, then you're engaging. Then you have a potential to have that other person like and respect you. When that other person realizes that you're seeing his or her perspective accurately and using it to create a potential mid-range agreement, will benefit both sides equally. It's incredibly important to note also that when the interests of both parties are opposed, very difficult for conflict to be resolved. Perspective taking is most helpful when there are multiple issues under discussion and when conflict has multiple dimensions. Perspective taking is really neglected in the world because people try for quick solutions like this. But teachers have learned that students, young kids, need to be told how to respect other people's perspective. And they teach them this early now because that will help them in the world with everything they do. Becoming skillful in taking the perspective of others will significantly improve a person's life in so many different ways. It's not just about problem solving, negotiations, conflict resolution, and stuff like that. It's about being at peace with yourself and seeing it through another person's eyes at the same time, frankly, that you're seeing it through your own. Don't be stuck with rose-colored glasses. Be able to see the world and situations the way the other side does. You know, in the military, I'm a military armchair general, In the military, they do a lot of planning. They do a lot of trial and error before they do anything in the field. In training, they do a lot of it in training. So what that means is the opportunity is there, just like the Army, just like the military, for us to train ourselves to do better in understanding other people's perspectives. This has been the Real Senior Stoner, and we've been spending time on talking about why it's important to look at perspectives. This has been the Puffco Proxy. We're going on green, and the dab train is getting ready to roll in. Thanks for being here, everyone. You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, send a like, and I reply to all the comments. Have a wonderful day. Cheers. It's like a big click pen. First time, every time. Puffco Proxy. And bub. Cheers, everyone. Have a great day.